This young man was trying to stay calm and accept the fact that he had been reincarnated into another world. But man, other people who get reincarnated either have insane talent or a busted system to back them up. Basically, they're the kind of people who start at the finish line. However, Fang Ping got jack squat. His family were laborers earning a measly salary. Basically, they had no financial backing whatsoever, as if fate was playing a cruel joke. Fang Ping awakened, a system that required money to increase his vitality. 10,000 yuan could increase his vitality by 0.1 points. That price was way too steep. At least this system had some conscience. It only deducted money from within the system, not from the real world. So the young man didn't lose the 10,000 yuan that his family had painstakingly saved up for him to take the martial arts exam. The next morning, Fang Ping went to school as usual. Today was the registration day for the martial arts exam. Seeing him stand up, Chen Fan thought he had to use the restroom again, but unexpectedly he grabbed the money and courageously headed straight for the teacher's office. Everyone knew Fang Ping's family was poor, so his classmates were quite surprised to see him there. I can't believe Fang Ping is also signing up. What's your vitality level now? Fang Ping felt that 1.1 sounded a bit low, so he didn't dare say it out loud. Seeing him hesitate, his friend Yang Jin spoke up for him. I don't think Fang Ping knows. Otherwise, he would have said something already. The last time I got checked at the hospital, it was 108 cal. Fang Ping is as skinny as a rail. He's definitely not as high as me. Another person chimed in. Fang Ping tried to hide his shock. 108 was an incredibly high number for him right now. He never thought the gap between him and his classmates was so huge. Then a classmate named Wu Jihao offered to help Fang Ping check his level after school. The moment he said that, everyone around was stunned. A home vitality meter, even the cheapest one, costs over 100,000. Fang Ping couldn't help but feel dismayed. In his past life, buying a home blood pressure monitor, even the most expensive one, was only a few hundred. Is this Wu Jihao's family sitting on a gold mine or something? They're so loaded. Curious about whether his vitality unit was the same as everyone else's, and so Fang Ping ended up going home with Wu Jihao. After listening to him ramble on about the machine for what felt like an eternity, Fang Ping sat on it and began to measure his vitality. And the number displayed in the results gave Wu Jihao a look of utter shock. Fang Ping's vitality level was actually 113 cal. Fang Ping secretly felt relieved. The readings in the system and in reality had a different conversion method. This 113 cal was equivalent to 1.1 in the system, meaning the conversion rate was about 1 to 100. Otherwise, he might have become the biggest scrub with the lowest vitality in history. Seeing Fang Ping's calm demeanor, Wu Jihao couldn't help but ask, "Hey Fang Ping, why aren't you reacting at all? Your vitality level is the second highest in our class. Why are you so nonchalant?" Only then did it dawn on Fang Ping. It seemed he was supposed to show some joy or surprise. Yeah, that was the right reaction. When he returned home, Fang, Mingrong, and Li Yuying were worriedly sitting in the bedroom. They heard from the class director that taking the martial arts exam required an investment of tens of thousands in supplements. Now that their son had registered, even if the family was short on money, they couldn't just ignore him. Fang, Mingrong gathered all their cash savings, which was only 20,000. He was planning to withdraw more the next day when he heard his daughter's sharp voice. "Stop capping, you only need 100 to take the martial arts exam." "How could you have 113 cal?" Fang Ping pinched Fang Yuan's chubby cheek and said triumphantly, "Sorry, your brother is just a natural-born talent. I've got this year's martial arts exam in the bag. It's a 9 out of 10 chance." Li Yuying appeared and broke up the fight between her two children. She then called Fang Ping into the room for a private talk. His parents' serious atmosphere made him a little nervous. Then, Fang Mingrong placed a stack of cash into his hand, saying it was for buying supplements. If he needed more, he could ask for it. As soon as he held it, his wealth stat jumped to 20,000 points. Fang Mingrong kept apologizing to his son for not paying attention before and hindering his future. From now on, they would pool all their resources to support him for the martial arts exam. Fang Ping returned to his room with a heavy heart. His dad told him to use this money to buy medicine, but he was also afraid that spending 20,000 on medicine without getting good results would be a huge waste of money. It would be faster to just use the system. So, Fang Ping decided to use 10,000 wealth points to exchange for 0.1 spirit points. As soon as the points increased, Fang Ping immediately felt like a young woman's small hands were embracing his head, giving him a gentle massage. His thoughts also expanded, like he was running on a cow yuan. His concentration, comprehension, and thinking skills all increased significantly. He got so absorbed that he read a physics book all night, which is why he was so sleepy this morning. While lost in thought, Fang Ping was tackled by someone from the opposite direction, who put him in a headlock. He fell onto the landing, his whole body aching. When he came to his senses, he saw it was Yang Jian. "You sly dog, you really kept it under wraps. I can't believe your vitality is a whole 113 cal. Come to think of it, I'm only at 110 cal. Tell me, have you been training in secret? After Yang Jian came Wu Jihao, who also approached with a big grin on his face. It was true that in this school, if one person knew something, the whole school knew. Just you watch. Next to Wu Jihao was the friend from yesterday, who bragged about his vitality being 108 cal. He came forward and threw Yang Jian aside with one hand, then stared intently at Fang Ping. It seemed this young man had taken a major blow from the new information he'd received. He had bulging muscles and a sturdy back, such a healthy appearance, but his vitality was only 108 cal. Meanwhile, Fang Ping, who was as skinny as a rail with limbs that looked powerless, had a reading of 113 cal. This was just ridiculous. Just then, a bald teacher walked by. As soon as he saw Fang Ping, he threw a thick stack of books into his hands. They were all books related to martial arts. He didn't forget to remind him privately, "Fang Ping, take these books home and read them. Everything you need to train is in there. Since you've registered for the martial arts exam, you must do well. Although you're a little behind the others, the teachers will support you fully." Fang Ping was a little touched by the special attention. In his past life, he wasn't close to this teacher, old Ban, but he couldn't deny that he was a good teacher. It seems this life isn't too different. Speaking of which, as Teacher Ban was about to leave, he stopped as if he remembered something. "Oh, right, you guys. You don't have to go to class today. I have a mission for you. I had to ask your class director, Xiaozhong, several times to get this opportunity. And the mission that old Ban had just mentioned was to go pick up Wang Jinyang, their senior. He was currently a freshman at Nanjing Martial Arts University. As soon as Wang Jinyang got off the bus, he was drawn to a group of students in his old school uniform. They even brought flowers to welcome him. Fang Ping observed him carefully from head to toe. He felt that, although this Wang Jinyang was a real martial artist, he seemed a bit more ordinary than he had imagined. Compared to other guys who just started college, he wasn't much different. Earlier, when old Ban mentioned Wang Jinyang, Fang Ping couldn't help but blurt out, "Who's that?" As a result, all the other students were shocked. "What, you don't know who Wang Jinyang is?" Their reaction was as if Fang Ping didn't know who the current president of their country was. Then a female student, who seemed to be a huge fan of Wang Jinyang, gave him a crash course on the spot. "That Wang Jinyang guy is 19 years old, 170 cm tall, and from Yangcheng just like them. He likes to eat apples and cilantro and dislikes almost nothing. His favorite thing to do is train his body. His family isn't rich, but he never gave up on studying martial arts. In the end, when he took the exam, he successfully achieved the rank of first in martial arts in Yangcheng and got into Nanjing Martial Arts University. He was also the first person from a regular class at Yangcheng High School to get into Nanjiang. It's said that after getting into the martial arts university, Wang Jinyang didn't slack off on his physical training for a single moment. So he became a martial artist in his freshman year. Hearing this profile, he seems like a very outstanding person. No wonder all the female students in the school are crazy about him. But seeing him in person now, Fang Ping felt that this guy seemed a bit average. And the way they welcomed him seemed a bit over the top. Even Wang Jinyang, who received such an overly warm welcome, was a little embarrassed. He came back this time to interact with students from his old school. But these students, while on the bus, were already eager for Wang Jinyang to share his experience of passing the martial arts exam. That guy was also an easygoing person. As soon as the juniors asked, he answered right away. To pass the martial arts exam, you have to go through 5 major assessment categories, including political assessment, cultural and professional physical fitness test, and a practical examination. This is something everyone knows. Among them, the 2 most difficult parts are the physical fitness test and the practical examination. According to Wang Jinyang, students with a vitality level of around 107 are in a very risky position if they want to get into a martial arts university. But if you know how to channel your emotions, the result might be different. Emotions like joy, anger, love, and hate when pushed to their limits will cause their vitality to surge, especially anger. The simplest and most effective way is to imagine yourself being humiliated. It sounds absurd, but it's very persuasive. Once you pass the physical fitness test, the practical exam is no longer difficult. The examination board will mainly assess your explosive power, endurance, and flexibility. Of course, there are quite a few scrubs among the candidates who grew up on supplements. So apart from their vitality, they are useless in other aspects. If you put a chicken in front of them and they can't even kill it, how? Can they fight people? Right. Later on, you will find that taking a human life is much harder than killing a chicken. Fang Ping suddenly felt a chill down his spine. How could Wang Jinyang say those words so calmly? It sounded like he had actually taken a life before. Really? Even though this world was a different world where martial artists were revered, it was still bound by law. There was no opportunity to take another person's life, let alone the fact that he was just a freshman. Nevertheless, after just that one sentence, Fang Ping immediately felt that he should be wary of Wang Jinyang carefully. After he and his classmates took Wang Jinyang home, he also returned to his own home. He lay on his bed, thinking for a long time about what Wang Jinyang had said earlier. He still couldn't understand how he could utter those words so nonchalantly. Meanwhile, Wang Jinyang in his own home received a phone call. "Mr. Wang, sorry to bother you, but we just received new information. The suspect has fled to Kangshan Mountain, and Kangshan Mountain spans 2 provinces. Once the target escapes..." "Didn't I tell you? Wait for me before you make a move." Wang Jinyang cut the other person off, dissatisfied. "I'm really sorry, Mr. Wang, but if he escapes this time, our superiors will definitely hold us accountable. We'll be screwed by then. That's your problem. How about this 500,000 dead or alive?" Wang Jinyang's eyes were fierce when he said those words. Although it was unclear who was on the other end of the line or what they were discussing, it was clear that this Wang Jinyang's identity was not simply that of a college freshman. At the same time, Fang Ping at home made a decision to spend his last 10,000s to increase his vitality by 0.1 points. After all, he wanted to be more certain about passing the martial arts university entrance exam. After his vitality was enhanced, the feeling was completely different from last time. His heart felt like it was being squeezed. Fang Ping clutched his chest in pain, struggling to breathe but couldn't. Finally, he collapsed onto the bed, gradually losing consciousness. Fang Ping could even hear his own heartbeat clearly. When he woke up, his body was still in extreme pain. As he struggled to sit up, Fang Ping noticed that both his hands were covered in bulging veins, large and small. "This isn't a side effect of increasing my vitality, is it?" After a period of adjustment, by constantly massaging his hands, Fang Ping finally felt the sensation of vitality surging through his body. And at that moment, he realized something. He had almost forgotten his task of picking up Wang Jinyang and taking him to school. Fang Ping quickly threw on his school uniform and rushed out of the house. On the way, he accidentally bumped into a person with their face completely covered, carrying several large and small cardboard boxes. This person actually dropped a knife, but quickly hid it back inside their sleeve. Fang Ping apologized verbally, but in his heart he was on guard. "Is that the new tenant from upstairs? Something feels off," he thought to himself. Not long after, Fang Ping and his friends met up with Wang Jinyang. Yang Jin, sitting next to him, kept praising how amazing their high school was for being able to invite this guy to come and talk before the martial arts exam. Fang Ping was still puzzled. "What's the big deal about this? Isn't Wang Jinyang just an alumnus coming back to share his experience? An ordinary alumnus wouldn't be anything special, but Wang Jinyang is different. He's a martial artist," Yang Jian immediately retorted. "Because in a city as big as Yangcheng, not many people are raised to become martial artists. That's why Wang Jinyang's existence is so special, especially since he became a martial artist at such a young age." While Fang Ping was lost in thought, suddenly, Wang Jinyang's arm rested on his shoulder. "Although I understand that you guys will do anything for the martial arts exam, your body is the most important thing. Fang Ping, I don't know what kind of medicine you took to increase your vitality in such a short time, but you can't just take any medicine. A medicine that is too potent can also cause disaster. Also, if you only rely on supplements without training your strength, you'll end up biting off more than you can chew." Fang Ping didn't think the other person could tell just by glancing at him that he had increased his vitality. The way Wang Jinyang said it somehow made him feel a hint of killing intent. But since he was a senior, Fang Ping didn't dare show anything on his face. He even had to thank him for the reminder. Besides, what Wang Jinyang said wasn't entirely wrong. That's why that night after returning home, Fang Ping started to work out. Sit-ups, then push-ups, repeating them over and over again. He didn't know if it was because the system added points to his vitality, but now Fang Ping felt that exercising was not as tiring as before. "It seems I should still train my body while increasing my vitality," just like Wang Jinyang said. After he was exhausted and drenched in sweat, Fang Ping finally stood up, and at that moment, he felt a strong, unconcealable killing intent. Instinctively, Fang Ping turned around, but there was no one there. Instead, he saw the masked man he had bumped into this morning, standing by the second-floor window. Although he couldn't explain the feeling of killing intent, he just felt, Fang Ping still felt that this person was very dangerous. However, he had no way to investigate him. He could only remind himself to stay away from that person in the future. When Fang Ping returned home, the TV was broadcasting a breaking news story about a second-rank martial artist who had brutally killed his teammate due to an unfair division of spoils after a mission. The police said that the last place the suspect was seen was at Kangshan Mountain in Yangcheng. The police also, therefore, requested residents near this area to take necessary precautions for security. Lock your doors and windows tightly before going to bed to avoid any unfortunate incidents. Fang Ping, what do you think? Should I not go to school during this time? I'm so cute. What if that murderer does something to me? Wouldn't that be a national loss? Fang Yuan, who was lying on the sofa, eating chips, asked as soon as Fang Ping came home. Don't worry, you're only worth a little money. It won't affect much. Fang Yuan was angered by his teasing and threw the half-eaten bag of chips at him. But Fang Ping easily dodged it. It seems his reflexes are getting better and better. After that, the news broadcasted a video of the suspect committing the crime, from which the murder weapon was identified. Fang Ping's expression immediately changed. He stared at the video for a long time. For some reason, he felt like he had seen the knife in the video somewhere before. That night in his dream, Fang Ping dreamed that someone was using the knife from the news that evening to stab him. And that person happened to be the man from upstairs that he had bumped into that morning. Fang Ping woke up with a start, and that nightmare reminded him of an important detail. When he bumped into the man this morning, he saw the knife fall from the man's person. Although it was just a dream, the killing intent that he felt while training in the yard that evening was definitely not an illusion. Fang Ping felt a chill down his spine. A wanted top-tier second-rank martial artist ended up moving in right above him. Isn't this too much of a coincidence? For some reason, at that moment a thought crossed Fang Ping's mind. Could it be that he was targeting him? But what did he have that would make him a target? It certainly wasn't for money, because his family had none. Then maybe it was because of the system. But only Fang Ping himself could see the system. He thought and thought, but couldn't find a reason. It was just that the dream was too vivid. Fang Ping was afraid that he was really being targeted by the other party, and didn't want that nightmare to repeat itself in reality. Thinking of this, Fang Ping felt he should do something before the other party could make a move on him. So the next morning, before the sun had fully risen, Fang Ping had already taken action. He went out and bought a bunch of breakfast food, planning to spy on the other person in his own way. At that time, the radio was also reporting on this issue. The public was in an uproar, because it was just a second-rank martial artist, yet the police had sealed off Kangshan Mountain for several nights, and still couldn't catch him, causing them to have sleepless nights for several days. But experts believed that this was not something to be ashamed of, because the strength of an ordinary second-rank martial artist could even deal with a company of soldiers with great ease. The main character of the news, the murderer himself, was also listening to the radio at this time. After the news ended, he turned off the radio and threw it into a cardboard box. Inside were also blood-stained clothes and the knife he used as a weapon. Those idiots really fell for my trick and went to Kangshan Mountain. It seems that escaping is not too difficult. This small residential area doesn't even have cameras. I just need to hide here and wait for this storm to pass, he thought to himself. Just then there was a knock on the door. He cautiously asked, "Who's there?" but received no reply. At first, the murderer didn't intend to open the door, but just hiding inside could arouse the neighbors' suspicion. So he put away the cardboard box containing the murder weapon, then put on a gentle, innocent expression and went to open the door. "Hello, nice to meet you. I'm the new owner of this room who just moved in yesterday. May I ask what you need from me?" It was a waste of his acting skills. There was no one at the door. Actually, there was, but it was Fang Ping, and he was hiding behind the door. While the other party was confused and went outside, looking up and down to see who had knocked on his door, Fang Ping quickly darted into the room. He was already sitting on the sofa. When the murderer returned and saw him entering his room without permission, he was furious. But for the sake of his escape, he still had to suppress his anger. Young man, are you in the wrong room? This isn't your house." On the other side, Fang Ping also tried to put on a calm expression, as if he didn't know the other person was a murderer. "I know, but here's the thing, Uncle. My TV is broken, and I want to watch football. So I came to your house to borrow your TV to watch. Please don't say no to me, because I even bought breakfast." As he spoke, Fang Ping put a straw into a cup of soy milk and handed it to the man. "Uncle, do you like watching football? Let's eat and watch together, okay, Uncle?" Although he was very reluctant, because he didn't want to show an unusual attitude towards his neighbor. In the end, the murderer still had to agree to turn on the TV for Fang Ping to watch football. In fact, during the football match, he was also very nervous, because he was afraid that Fang Ping was sent to arrest him. However, Fang Ping's acting was top-notch. His focused attention on the match, along with his somewhat "oh man" expressions when his team was losing, made the murderer gradually let down his guard, thinking that he was just an ordinary kid. Originally, he had intended to kill him to avoid future trouble, but now was a critical time. If he caused more trouble, he was afraid that the police would soon be on his tail, so he could only sip his soy milk, while thinking of a way to get rid of Fang Ping soon. But unexpectedly, this young man was as persistent as a leech. Today was the weekend, so he didn't have to go to school, giving him even more of an excuse to stay longer. "Kid, if you don't go home soon, your family will be worried about you." The murderer still tried to get rid of Fang Ping. Unexpectedly, as soon as he finished saying this, the boy hung his head, Then he put on such a pitifully sad expression that it was impossible not to be moved. Uncle, I just wanted to watch a football match. Do you want to kick me out that badly? No, I'm just worried about you, haha. The murderer was suddenly struck by his appearance, and for a moment his conscience didn't know how to kick Fang Ping out. It's my fault, Uncle. Today is a rare weekend, and a cute teenager like me wanted to help a new neighbor feel the warmth of the neighborhood. But instead I rudely disturbed. You enjoying your weekend alone? A person like me is just too wicked. I'm sorry, Uncle, it's all my fault. Seeing the glistening tears in the corner of Fang Ping's eyes, the man became even more panicked. He was indeed a second-rank martial artist whose hands had been stained with blood, but he had no experience dealing with children. While putting on an Oscar-worthy performance, Fang Ping also noticed the other person's awkward expression, so he took this opportunity to try and stick around. He even wanted to help the other person clean the house to show his sincerity. But just as he opened the curtains wide, the man rushed over like the wind, grabbed the 2 layers of curtains with both hands and pulled them shut. After doing this, he felt that his previous action was too unnatural. It was because he was used to living in the dark, so he couldn't help but draw the curtains. So the man made up a reason, that he was allergic to ultraviolet rays. Fang Ping said, "Oh," pretending that he hadn't noticed anything unusual. He then wanted to help the other person clean the bedroom. The murderer quickly stood in front of the bedroom door like the wind. "Thanks, young man, but I can clean my own bedroom." Fang Ping let out a sigh, with an expression of someone who has seen through the world. "We're both men, I get it. Don't be shy, Uncle." At this point, the murderer had already started cursing silently in his heart. He then used the excuse that it was almost noon to send Fang Ping home for lunch. Fang Ping looked at the clock and saw that it was indeed past 12 o'clock. He then said goodbye to the murderer and left. The man hadn't even had a chance to breathe a sigh of relief when Fang Ping deliberately and accidentally bumped into the cardboard box on the floor and fell face first onto the ground. At that moment, he almost held his breath. Because he had rushed to open the door just now, he hadn't put away that box. Now that Fang Ping had bumped into it, the contents inside had all spilled out, including the blood-stained clothes and the murder weapon. "Uncle, what's in here? Why are your things so messy?" Fang Ping had already guessed what was inside, but still pretended to ask. Unexpectedly, his action extinguished the last spark of reason in the other person. Before he could even turn his head, the murderer had already rushed towards him and launched a kick. A horizontal kick, with the same power as Messi's goal just now. Fang Ping's whole body took the full force of the kick smashing into the door, then slowly slid down. Before he could even react, the other person had already grabbed the knife that had fallen on the floor, removed all the tape wrapped around the blade, and held it to Fang Ping's neck. At that moment, he could clearly feel his strong killing intent. This murderer was going to kill him to silence him. "Uncle, please calm down. I won't tell anyone about this." Fang Ping put on a terrified expression, but only received a cold snort from the other person in return. "You think I'll let you live to see that day?" With that, he swung the knife. At this moment, Fang Ping really started to panic. Could it be that he had miscalculated and was about to die? Here, fortunately, when the blade came down, the drug took effect just in time. The murderer's action suddenly stopped. He also felt that he had no strength left. At that moment, he vaguely guessed that he had been drugged. Perhaps Fang Ping had planned it, from the moment he walked into the house with those 2 cups of soy milk. Seeing the other person's action pause, Fang Ping took this opportunity to knock the knife out of his hand, then fumbled behind him and grabbed a broom handle, hitting him with it. The murderer had been drugged, and had also taken a direct blow to the back of the neck. He couldn't take it anymore and collapsed. Only then could Fang Ping breathe a sigh of relief. He had been trying to stall for so long without any effect, and had also taken a direct blow to the back of the neck. He couldn't take it anymore and collapsed. Only then could Fang Ping breathe a sigh of relief. He had been trying to stall for so long without any effect. It was so effective I almost thought that shop was selling fake medicine. Good thing the medicine kicked in just in time. Plus the timing was perfect. The stars aligned and I had this broom handle. But he couldn't even relax for 3 seconds. Panic once again washed over Fang Ping, because he saw the other man staggering to his feet. Are you kidding me? Didn't he take the drug? That was the only question in Fang Ping's mind, before his opponent punched him square in the gut. The impact was so strong that Fang Ping coughed up a mouthful of blood, but he refused to give up. It wasn't easy getting reborn. He absolutely wouldn't let himself die here for nothing. Fang Ping gripped the broom handle tightly in his hand. While his opponent was still staggering from the drug's effects, he repeatedly struck him on the head. Even though the guy was a second-rank martial artist, he was disoriented and his strength was nearly depleted. In the end, he was still knocked backward by Fang Ping. This time, he didn't dare to let his guard down. He stood at a distance, constantly regulating his breathing, while carefully observing his opponent, to make sure he was unconscious. If he hadn't planned ahead and given him a dose of sleeping pills 10 times the normal amount. Then perhaps he wouldn't have been able to get him into this state. After such a struggle, Fang Ping had finally succeeded in saving his own skin. Afterward, he didn't run. Instead, he started searching the man's house. When the killer woke up, the first thing he saw was Fang Ping rummaging through his cash. This guy had a lot of money in his bag, but even if Fang Ping took it, his wealth stat didn't increase. It seems the system determined this money didn't belong to him. It's probably best to hand it over to the police. The killer was tied up completely, unable to move. Fang Ping had carefully tied him from head to toe to avoid any unfortunate incidents. Only now did he have time to properly sense his opponent's aura. He then realized the kid in front of him was the martial arts student who was training in the courtyard last night. I, Huang Bin, am a martial artist, at the peak of the 2nd rank, about to break through to the 3rd rank. Yet today I lost to a kid, a mere student. Could he be a plant from the police? He thought, then yelled, "Hey, kid! Who the hell are you?" Seeing his opponent was awake, Fang Ping slowly stood up. Then he turned to the man and replied, "I'm Edogawa Conan, the famous detective. Catching criminals is my duty. There is only one truth despite my childish appearance." Seeing Fang Ping's smug attitude, Huang Bin grew even angrier. He couldn't help but let out a stream of words that violated community guidelines. Fang Ping shook the cloth bag in front of the man and started questioning him. "A wanted criminal? What's with you carrying only 200,000 in cash and a few measly bottles of pills? What the hell does that have to do with you?" Huang Bin roared. Those bottles of pills were all specially prepared for his breakthrough to the 3rd rank. But now they had fallen into Fang Ping's hands. Realizing the situation was not in his favor, Huang Bin decided to stop yelling and cursing. Instead, he started to negotiate with his captor. "Kid, want to make a deal with me." The terms of the deal were very attractive. Specifically, if Fang Ping let him go, the 200,000 RMB, along with the few bottles of pills, would all be his. According to Huang Bin, they included 2 bottles of qi and blood pills, 1 bottle of ordinary vitality pills, 1 bottle of 1st-rank qi and blood elixirs, 1 bottle of 2nd-rank bone-tempering elixirs, and 1 bottle of 2nd-rank organ protection elixirs. These were all things he had invested in for his breakthrough. Their market value totaled up to 5.24 million RMB. Fang Ping was floored when he heard that. Even though this was another world, money was still money. Just a few bottles of a medicine were worth over 5 million. Was this some kind of joke? Huang Bin watched Fang Ping intently, as if afraid of missing any expression on his face. Seeing Fang Ping's astonishment, the man pressed his advantage and continued to tempt him, saying that these qi and blood-replenishing pills were extremely good for the upcoming college entrance exam and his future cultivation path. For example, that bottle of 1st-rank qi and blood elixir is an essential item for martial artists during all night, the battles. It's much more effective than other types of regular qi and blood supplements. In addition, the bone-tempering and organ protection elixirs also have uses that can't be underestimated, because martial artists are actually just a group of ordinary people who can break through the body's limits. If you don't forge hard bones and don't use medicine to protect your fragile internal organs, then once your qi and blood exceed their limits, you'll undoubtedly die. Hearing him say this, Fang Ping's heart started pounding. If what Huang Bin said was true, then those bottles of medicine would be incredibly useful to him. Their value wasn't just in money, and if he handed Huang Bin over to the police or the capture bureau, all these resources would be confiscated. He wouldn't get a single bottle. And don't even think about killing me and taking this stuff. The clues I've left behind, at most, this will only mislead the police for 10 days, or maybe half a month. When they track me here and find me dead, then you definitely won't be able to escape. Huang Bin pressed his advantage and began to threaten Fang Ping. In reality, he was just trying to stall for time. Fang Ping's ropes were very tight, but not impossible to remove. On one hand, Huang Bin was trying to entice Fang Ping into considering his offer. On the other, he was trying to untie the ropes on his hands. He was truly conflicted, not knowing which choice to make. It was true that if he killed Huang Bin, sooner or later, the Yang City authorities would find out. But if he let him go, the chances of his opponent coming back for revenge were very high, not to mention this guy was a 2nd-rank martial artist. He couldn't beat him in a fight. Thinking about this dangerous situation, Fang Ping gritted his teeth and decided to hand him over to the police. But if he did that, the millions worth of items here would also be confiscated. To become a qi and blood martial artist, you needed at least 150 points. Even though Fang Ping had the system, the wealth points a martial artist needed weren't a small number. 524 million RMB could be exchanged for a lot of qi and blood points, or even if he didn't exchange them directly. Consuming those medicines could also turn him into a martial artist. Then Fang Ping kept thinking of ways to get the best of both worlds. A name appeared in his mind, Wang Jinyang. But these resources were also very precious to martial artists. He and Wang Jinyang weren't close at all. What if he wanted to kill Fang Ping? To take these things for himself, then he'd be toast. Seeing Fang Ping hesitate for a long time, Wang Bin also became afraid that he would be killed, so he started to urge him again. You still have to think about this for so long. That's over 5 million in the bag. No matter how you look at it, it'd be hard for you to earn this kind of money. All right. Fang Ping took a deep breath. In front of him was a fierce tiger. Behind him could be a hungry wolf. So after dealing with the tiger, he could only pray that the chance of meeting a hungry wolf was 0. Thinking of this, Fang Ping picked up the broom handle from the ground. He gripped it tightly. Seeing this, Huang Bin started to panic, but no matter how much he struggled, he couldn't break free from the ropes. What do you want to do? His voice was extremely urgent. I'm thinking after the deal. Will you be willing to let me go? Of course. I, Huang Bin, am a man of my word. As he said this, Huang Bin finally managed to loosen the ropes. He immediately lunged forward, wanting to settle the score with Fang Ping, but in his hand he was holding a wooden broom handle. He took the opportunity to strike him, squarely on the head. Meanwhile, at Mount Kang in Yang City, Wang Jinyang was investigating all by himself. But he had practically turned the entire mountain upside down, and it was already late at night. Yet he still couldn't find a single trace of Huang Bin. Just as he was feeling exhausted, Wang Jinyang suddenly received a phone call. It was Fang Ping. He seemed surprised. Why was he calling so late? How should I put this? I wanted to ask if you, Brother Wang, are still in Yang City. I'm still here. What's up? Actually, I accidentally ran into the wanted criminal from the news, but I accidentally injured him. As soon as he heard this, Wang Jinyang was momentarily stunned. The wanted criminal. Right now, that could only be Huang Bin. Fang Ping was just a high school student. How could he possibly subdue him? On the other end, Fang Ping continued to plead. In Yang City, the only martial artist he knew was Wang Jinyang, so he wanted him to come over and take a look. When Wang Jinyang arrived at Fang Ping's place, he was already standing in front of Huang Bin's door, room 201. Actually, at that moment, he wasn't sure if the person in the room was Huang Bin or not. The idea of a martial artist, like him a second rank about to break through to the third being taken down by Fang Ping, was a bit absurd. But if it really was Huang Bin, then even he would have to be extremely cautious when confronting him. Wang Jinyang was troubled by many thoughts, so he stood in front of room 201 for a relatively long time. Fang Ping inside got impatient and opened the door to check. And there he was, standing frozen in front of the door. Brother Wang. What are you doing standing outside? Hurry and come in. I thought you weren't coming. Fang Ping impatiently pulled him inside. I just happened to still be in Yang City, so I dropped by on my way. Let me say this first. If this is too much trouble, I won't be able to help you much. Wang Jinyang suddenly stopped talking, because the person tied up in the house was indeed Huang Bin. Seeing his expression, Fang Ping had to reassure him, don't worry. He's just passed out. It's no big deal. No big deal. A giant question mark appeared over Wang Jinyang's head. Fang Ping was just a 12th grade student. He managed to take down a second-rank martial artist who was about to reach the third rank and tied him up like a chicken. And he called that no big deal. Seeing him completely stunned, Fang Ping spoke again, Brother Wang. If I call the police and handle this, I'll probably get a huge reward, right? My family isn't very well off. And Wang Jinyang realized this kid's intentions were not so simple. He asked in return, what are you getting at? Since you asked, I won't beat around the bush and with you anymore. As he spoke, Fang Ping pulled out Huang Bin's bag. I found a lot of good stuff in this guy's bag. The prices are beyond imagination. Do you know why this guy is wanted? His hands are stained with the blood of other martial artists. Wang Jinyang showed a look of disgust. Even his tone of voice seemed harsh. But Fang Ping didn't give up. He continued to persuade him. Isn't that why I need your help, Brother Wang? Of course. How we split the loot is all up to you, Brother Wang. Finally, Wang Jinyang let out a sigh. His expression was a bit helpless, but he had completely lowered his guard. You're a smart one. In the future, we'll definitely have other opportunities to make deals. Then he clarified a few things, to avoid them turning against each other in the future. The second-rank bone tempering and organ protection elixirs, Fang Ping couldn't use. Wang Jinyang agreed to exchange them for first-rank ones for him, and would also transfer him 1 million in cash. With that, Wang Jinyang went over and pulled some kind of elixir out from Huang Bin's body. He was on the verge of a financial breakthrough, so he had enough money to buy elixirs. He was just missing that one thing which was very expensive. Fang Ping didn't have a high enough rank to buy them, so he had to leave them all for Wang Jinyang. Once he breaks through to the next realm, gathering resources would be much easier than now. At that time, if Fang Ping needed anything, he could also ask for help. I've said my piece. If you agree, then you don't need to worry about what happens next with Huang Bin. You can just leave it to me. Just leave it to me. Fang Ping didn't expect that Huang Bin still had hidden goods on him. Looks like he took a big L on this deal, but this was unavoidable when borrowing strength from someone stronger. So faced with Wang Jinyang's demands, Fang Ping could only nod repeatedly. After all, this was the best solution. After receiving the 1,000 RMB from him, his wealth stat would increase significantly. Combined with diligent practice, passing the martial arts department exam would no longer be a big problem for him. Fang Ping took the few bottles of elixirs Wang Jinyang gave him and left. He estimated that those elixirs had to be worth 3.5 million RMB, but when converted to his wealth stat, it was only a little over 2.4 million points. Perhaps the system only calculated their actual value, not the market price. This kind of law seemed a bit excessive. Thinking of this, Fang Ping remembered something. He went back to Wang Jinyang. "Brother Wang, what if Yang City takes his statement?" "Don't worry, he won't get a chance to talk," Wang Jinyang replied confidently. "A murderer resisting arrest will be executed on the spot." A few days later, as promised, Fang Ping received 1,000 RMB in his bank account. His wealth points quickly skyrocketed, and because of that, the system also leveled up. The interface and unit values changed a lot. Qi and blood had switched to a calorie value like everyone else, and the vitality points had also changed. Now the numerical unit was more precise. Fang Ping tried using money to increase 1 point of Qi and blood. The result was a loss of 1,000 wealth points. This damn system really is a money grubber. If you have money, you get to level up. If you don't, you have to grind your butt off. Right after raising his Qi and blood to 122 points, Fang Ping also received a message from Wang Jinyang. "Got the money, I sent you some more stuff. You'll need it later." Fang Ping didn't expect that he would send him more stuff. He felt a little happy inside. He texted back to thank him. Wang Jinyang typed something, then deleted it. Finally, he sent a message. "I've lived this long and never really respected anyone. You can consider yourself the first." Wang Jinyang. He must be referring to the fact that Fang Ping could subdue Huang Bin on his own and still dared to negotiate with him. After reading the message, he suddenly felt a little embarrassed. That Wang Jinyang guy was complimenting him. He hadn't been happy for long when Fang Yuan burst in from outside. Without a word, she jumped on Fang Ping's back again. He nearly snapped his spine in half. Then the little girl started yelling, "Get up, I'm hungry!" Fang Ping held his breath, readjusting his 80-year-old spine. He muttered, "Go eat by yourself." "Can I use your money then?" "You have to use your own money. How could I have the heart to leave you at home all alone?" With no other choice, Fang Ping had to get up and change. He was getting ready to go out to eat with Fang Yuan, because both their parents had already gone to work. Just then she handed him something. She said it was from Wang Jinyang. Fang Ping didn't think the package it would arrive so quickly. And Fang Yuan felt that the sender's name was a bit familiar. After a few seconds of loading, the girl was incredibly shocked to learn that the famous Wang Jinyang from Nanjiang Martial Arts University knew her brother. Fang Yuan's eyes immediately lit up. She kept clinging to her brother, demanding that he get an autograph from that Wang guy for her no matter what. It seems that in this city of Yang, out of 5 girls, at least 3 of them had a crush on Wang Jinyang. The other 2 were especially fond of him. Fang Yuan even wanted her brother to help her get a lot of autographs from her idol. Then she could sell them for 10 yuan apiece. Then she could become an allowance billionaire. While Fang Yuan was still rambling on, Fang Ping had already quickly run outside. He eagerly tore open the express package. Inside were 3 cultivation technique books. 2 of them even had mandatory notes. Earlier at the internet cafe, Fang Ping had looked up some information. To break through, a martial artist needed to meet 2 conditions. First, their Qi and blood had to be high enough. As mentioned, to become a first-rank martial artist, the minimum Qi and blood had to be 150 points. Second, their bones had to be strong. And the strength of the bones wasn't just about taking supplements. It also required professional cultivation techniques. Fang Ping was still worried about not being able to find a technique. He didn't expect Wang Jinyang to have already sent them over. This deal didn't seem like too much of a loss after all. It's just that with these techniques, the small courtyard in front of the building was probably not suitable for cultivation anymore. Fang Ping was still racking his brain, wondering where to practice, when suddenly a real estate flyer was thrust into his hand. It was advertising a high-quality residential area that had just been completed. Fang Ping was actually attracted by this real estate area called Guanhu Residence. He dragged the real estate agent along with him to see the house. All along the way, he kept praising this Guanhu residence. Convenient transportation, convenient living, and the design was among the best on the market. The house Fang Ping looked at had a total area of 230 square meters. The selling price was 860,000 RMB. This house isn't bad, but the price is a bit high. Fang Ping sighed. Just that one sentence made the sales agent's face change. He felt that he didn't look like someone with money. If you think this fully furnished house is too expensive, we can go check out the unfurnished one, and next door. But Fang Ping shook his head and asked back, no need to look. If I pay in full, do I get any discounts? The agent was like someone who'd gone fishing for crabs and caught gold. His eyes were practically glowing. He nearly jumped to hug Fang Ping. Congratulations, young, handsome, and talented boss. Peerless in your generation. A crane among chickens, one of a kind, absolutely peerless. A dragon among men, exceptionally talented. And so beautiful flowers wilt and the moon hides, fish sink and birds fall. Elegant and otherworldly. Please accept your new home. Fang Ping was stunned when the other guy spouted dozens of idioms and proverbs at once. A contract was also held out in front of him. The sales agent said that if he signed the contract now, he would get a 5% discount on the management fee. Maintenance and repair fees would be completely waived. In addition, paying a 20% down payment up front could also reduce the house price a little. His attitude was completely different from before. He kept praising Fang Ping, making him feel very embarrassed. So when can I move in? Fang Ping asked as he signed the contract. This is a fully furnished house. You can move in whenever you want. For customers who have paid in full, we will handle the follow-up procedures. So you don't need to worry. That was the first time he realized how good it was to have money. With the keys to his new house in hand, Fang Ping returned to his own home. He had no way to explain to his parents where he got the money. To buy a house like buying a bunch of vegetables. So for the time being, he didn't plan to tell them. Now that he had a private place to practice, Fang Ping planned to buy some more furniture and fitness equipment. On the way back, he was attracted by a crowd of people talking excitedly. They were gathered around an electronics store, watching a live broadcast of a battle. It was between Grandmaster Ma and Tai Mu. Out of curiosity, Fang Ping stopped to watch. In the center of the battle, the once dense forest had been turned into a battlefield by the two Grandmasters. Dust filled the sky. The five spirits' thunder fist that Tai Mu just unleashed made an entire mountain disappear. Manhwa was not to be outdone. He used his signature move, the one that made him famous, 10,000 galloping horses, to counterattack. It split a large mountain in half. Rubble flew everywhere. One boulder even hit the camera, immediately interrupting the live broadcast. Fang Ping's jaw dropped in amazement. Although he knew the martial artists in this world were no joke, this was the first time he'd seen Grandmaster-level martial artists fight. Their destructive power was no less than a nuclear bomb, and maybe, just maybe, this wasn't even their full strength. Not long after the program reconnected, the host and several other members of the film crew were also injured. If they weren't all third-rank martial artists or higher, they would have all gone to meet their maker together just now. Hearing the people around him say that today's battle was just Manhwa and Tai Mu, a sparring and not a life-or-death fight, so they weren't using their full strength. Fang Ping was truly impressed by the two Grandmasters. He also started daydreaming about a future where he could be that strong. To make his Grandmaster dream a reality, Fang Ping quickly went to a furniture store to shop, to furnish his new home as soon as possible. Here, he came across a very beautiful sofa priced at 79,999 RMB, and, coincidentally, this sofa was also being eyed by a young couple. The wife was throwing a fit demanding to buy it, but the husband was hesitant, because 80,000 yuan was not a cheap sum. While the couple was arguing fiercely, the salesperson received information that this sofa had already been bought, and the buyer was none other than Fang Ping. The young man was still wearing his school uniform. No matter how you looked at it, he didn't seem like someone with money. Also because of his shopping spree, Fang Ping came home late that night. Li Yuying and her daughter were hanging laundry at that moment. Fang Ping had called earlier to say that he needed to seize the time to practice, and so he couldn't come home early for dinner tonight. But she had no idea that her son had secretly bought a house in a high-end residential area behind her back. Fang Ping was in his new house, practicing very seriously, based on the techniques Wang Jinyang sent him. These things were more difficult than he had imagined. The body's structure consists of 206 bones along with blood, flesh meridians, and internal organs. And for a second-ranked martial artist, these two parts must support each other. Whether you're a martial artist or not, if you want to effectively temper your bones, you can learn a tempering method combined with a stance technique. But that's not easy at all. Before practicing, Fang Ping had also called Wang Jinyang. The key to the tempering method is to compress the qi and blood, which is like a sponge, so that the body strengthens from withstanding the pressure of the qi and blood, while also cleansing the bones, so they can absorb qi and blood, thus increasing strength more effectively. Brother Wang, if both qi and blood and bone strength can't be increased anymore. Then is it possible to consider breaking through to a martial artist? Is that right? Fang Ping had asked at that time. That's right. If the tempering method can be combined with a stance technique, the effect of tempering the bones will be even better. Of course, the difficulty will also be higher. As for the stance technique, you can choose a technique that's related to the next step. Wang Jin, Yang also patiently, explained a lot to Fang Ping. At the first level of a martial artist, the first rank, specializing in the hands, is relatively safe. Nothing special. Someone who specializes in the legs can fight and run and is very stable. Fang Ping asked him again, which part he should focus on tempering. Wang Jinyang advised him to use the horse stance to temper his legs. However, if you focus on leg training, there is some danger. Once injured, it can easily lead to permanent disability. At that point, a bad image is one thing, but you might not even be able to walk normally anymore. In his mind, Fang Ping automatically filtered out those dangerous things. He simply thought, if I train my legs, then when I can't win a fight, I can still run. Wang Jinyang was also speechless. He couldn't help but remind him of something. Fang Ping's chi and blood were not bad. During the martial arts exam health check, there would be no problem. Cultivating the tempering method and stance technique will increase his chi and blood limit, but it will also cause his actual chi and blood to decrease significantly. At that time, the health check might be a bit troublesome, and if he was unlucky enough to damage a major vessel near his brain, then there's a high chance that Fang Ping would have to miss this year's college entrance exam. Others might hear that and think it's serious, but Fang Ping was the minister of optimism, so he didn't care much. It's just failing the college entrance exam. He could study for another year, no big deal. As long as he could break through in cultivation for the first time now, he could greatly improve his body's limits. As long as he didn't damage a major vessel near his brain, there wouldn't be any serious problems. Fang Ping thought so. That night, he was determined to cultivate through his first cultivation session. He put in a lot of effort, but in the end, he succeeded. Just as Wang Jinyang had said, both his vitality and ki and blood stats dropped quite a bit, but luckily he still had a lot of wealth points. He could use them to increase the other two stats. Fang Ping increased his chi and blood points to 125 and his vitality points to 140. He himself was very surprised because their stat limits had also increased. Other people had to cultivate once every 3 days and take over 100,000 worth of elixirs to restore their chi and blood. But as long as his body could handle it, he could recover as much as he wanted. In the blink of an eye, at this rate, it's not impossible that Fang Ping would soon catch up to Wang Jinyang or even become stronger than him. In the following days, Fang Ping's classmates were desperately cultivating. He wasn't slacking off either, but in reality he was much more chill than them. In the blink of an eye, it was the end of April. There were only 3 days left until the martial arts exam health check. While the kids were busy studying for the exam, somewhere an old man was having a huge headache. To be more precise, he was losing his patience. Looting. This year, Ruiyang also doesn't have any martial artist candidates. If I remember correctly, this year makes it exactly 15 years. For 15 years, Ruiyang City hasn't had a single martial artist candidate. Tell me, where did all the funding poured into education go? This man was the deputy head of the Nanjiang Provincial Inspection Team. If it weren't for last year, Wang Jinyang from Yang City having an outstanding performance in the Nanjiang Martial Arts University entrance exam, then the Ruiyang Department of Education might have been completely eliminated. This year, if the number of students with chi and blood above 120 in Ruiyang now doesn't reach at least 100, or if no outstanding martial artists appear, then I'm afraid the next director Jin will have to take a trip to the grave. Time continued to pass. Today is May 1st of the solar calendar. It's International Workers' Day. It's also the day of the health check for the martial arts. Exam Fang Ping and Yang Jin, full of enthusiasm, went to the exam site. This was the moment that would decide their fate. Not everyone was as enthusiastic as like Fang Ping or Yang Jian, because the cutoff score last year was 112. I heard they're raising it even higher this year. Students with vitality scores only hovering around 110 already feel like they don't stand a chance. They're ready to cry a river. Just chill in a bit. Just think about the eruption method that Brother Wang taught us. You guys will be totally fine then. Wu Zhihao comforted them. Seeing his friends whining about their vitality, Yang Jian remembered to ask Fang Ping, "What's your score at now?" Fang Ping was looking for an excuse to dodge the question when he suddenly heard someone call his name. He didn't recognize the person, but Wu Zhihao recognized him immediately. It was Tan Zhenping, the deputy director of the Yangcheng Education Bureau, and also a rank 1 martial artist. The whole group started buzzing, wondering why Tan Zhenping would single out Fang Ping. Even he himself was curious. Knowing the man called him for something important, he asked him to just get straight to the point. Tan Zhenping sighed. All right, I won't beat around the bush. Our Ruyang has 5 counties, 3 districts, and 1 city. Yangcheng is a county-level city. It's not much stronger than the districts, but it's a cut above those 5 counties. Every year, the number of students who pass the martial arts exam is a key performance indicator for the education bureaus. It's the top priority. This time, Ruyang designated Xingxi County, Anping District, and Yangcheng City as the physical examination centers. And according to Tan Zhenping, that one county and that one district always see Yangcheng as a thorn in their side. He called him over for a private chat because he'd gotten wind of the fact that Fang Ping was a kid with a vitality score over 120. The reason Tan Zhenping knew this was because he had met Wang Jinyang before, someone who could earn his recognition. That Wang guy must be the real deal. After some small talk, what Tan Zhenping wanted was for Fang Ping before the test began to hopefully unleash his vitality to its peak and psych out all the other students. You probably already know, your state of mind has a huge impact on a student's vitality performance. If the person next to you is weaker, you'll naturally be full of confidence. Your test results might even exceed expectations. But if the person next to you is really strong, what then? Your confidence takes a hit, you get anxious. When Tan Zhenping got to this point, Fang Ping was starting to get the picture. He wanted him to use his own sky-high vitality to intimidate the students from the other 2 areas. This old fox is pretty sly. Fang Ping immediately refused. He felt like it was playing dirty. Besides, unleashing his vitality before the test would also affect his own score. Tan Zhenping didn't give up. He tried to entice Fang Ping by promising that after it was done, Yangcheng City would compensate him with a vitality pill worth 900,000 RMB. Fang Ping was a slave to the almighty dollar. It was hard to refuse such a tempting offer. In the end, he agreed to give it a shot. However, after shaking hands to seal the deal with Fang Ping, Tan Zhenping was startled, because he could feel that the boy's vitality had already reached 130. It might even be higher. At that moment, the group of Yangcheng students was also buzzing outside. A girl named Zhang Nan was bumped into by a student from another school, either accidentally or on purpose. The guy didn't even apologize. Instead, he let out a snide remark. Nowadays, it seems every Tom, Dick, and Harry wants to be a martial artist. Furious Wu Jihao grabbed the guy's collar. Apologize. But the guy wasn't scared at all. He struck an extremely defiant pose. It was clearly your blind friend who walked into me. What a bunch of loudmouthed country bumpkins. Wu Jihao was so angry he was grinding his teeth, about to start a fight, when he heard Fang Ping's voice from behind him. 2 high school students who haven't gotten a reality check from the real world. If you don't know how to talk to people, you'll have a hard time making it out there. As he spoke, Fang Ping began to unleash his vitality. It made all the students from the other schools buckle at the knees simultaneously. Let me teach you, on your parents' behalf, how to speak to people in the real world. Tan Zhenping, observing from a short distance, was also extremely surprised by the effect Fang Ping was having. This vitality eruption? He was almost at the level of a martial artist. In fact, Tan Zhenping was so focused on Fang Ping that he didn't even notice someone else appearing behind him. Director Tan. Is that young man one of your people from Yangcheng? Fang Ping's shocking appearance had demoralized many students from other districts. The burst of vitality from just now had left many people breathless. Even now, their hands and feet were still trembling. Wherever Fang Ping went, he could hear people talking about him. After all, he was mentally almost 30 years old. Right now, pulling a stunt like this felt a bit like bullying kids. While heading towards the physical examination waiting area with his friends, Fang Ping was suddenly grabbed by someone and pulled into a small room. When he collected himself, he found it was a very rushed-looking Tan Zhenping. He was also out of breath. Fang Ping, quickly take this rank 1 vitality pill and become a peak quasi-martial artist. Fang Ping was stunned for a moment. Then he calmed down, pushed Tan Zhenping's hand away and refused. Because the medicinal effect of a rank 1 vitality pill is very strong. If someone who isn't a martial artist with tempered bones takes it, not only will it cause great harm to the body, but it could even be fatal. Tan Zhenping shook his head repeatedly, saying he could sense Fang Ping's solid foundation. He just needed to use the rank 1 vitality pill to temporarily, during the test, reach the 149-point vitality standard of a peak quasi-martial artist. Although the man was very insistent, Fang Ping still flatly refused, feeling that it was too dangerous for him. Seeing this, Tan Zhenping's expression instantly changed. He said this was not a request, but an order from the director of the Education Bureau, Ruyang's Jin Kemming. Fang Ping, rejecting the goodwill of a rank 3 martial artist, won't do you any good. Fang Ping was getting a little sick of this old man. When sweet-talking didn't work, he switched to threats. But as someone who had lived 2 lives, he wasn't so easily pushed around. A rank 3 martial artist, huh? I heard that. My brother Wang also broke through to rank 3 recently. How about I give him a call and see what he thinks? This time it was Tan Zhenping's turn to be surprised. Then he sighed again. His tone gradually softened. He began to complain that he was also being forced by Jin Kaming. Then he pleaded with Fang Ping to help him one more time. He could meet any condition Fang Ping set. Hearing this, Fang Ping broke into a sly grin. This was exactly what he'd been waiting for. He immediately stated his terms: 2 rank 1 vitality pills, and 2 million in cash. Only then would it be worth risking his life. Tan Zhenping thought for a moment. Right now, Jin Kaming was desperate to the point of madness, probably because he was being threatened by the deputy head of the Nanjiang Inspectorate. A few days ago, Tan Zhenping guessed that even if Fang Ping asked for more, he wouldn't refuse. So on Jin Kaming's behalf, he agreed to his demands. The two sealed the deal quickly. Fang Ping put his hand on the doorknob. Before leaving, he didn't forget to leave Tan Zhenping with one last remark. All right, see you in a bit. Oh, and Director Tan, you can tell Director Jin that I need 3 rank 1 vitality pills. Then keep one for yourself. Tan Zhenping was even more stunned. A high school student like Fang Ping was looking out for him. This kid was definitely not simple at all. At this point, the students had already begun to enter the physical examination stage. The stats couldn't lie in the face of the machine's measurements, so there was no way to cheat. Jin Kaming was now trembling with anxiety, because in the first batch of students, no one had surpassed 120 points in vitality. Finally, it was Fang Ping's turn. He ordered all surveillance cameras to be turned towards him. Fang Ping entered the testing booth, only to realize there was a camera inside too. Looks like I still need to put on a show. He had his system, so he didn't really need the rank 1 vitality pill, but he'd already taken the goods and made a deal. He couldn't just not eat it. Fang Ping discreetly swapped it with a regular vitality pill and popped it in his mouth. He thought everything would go smoothly, but as soon as he swallowed the pill, Fang Ping felt something was wrong. Although it was just a regular vitality pill, the vitality force within this pill was unlike his systems. It was incredibly potent. Fang Ping could clearly feel it dissolving inside his body, supplying him with vitality. It was just that absorbing such a large amount of vitality at once, he couldn't handle it for a moment. His whole body writhed continuously inside the glass booth. He couldn't help but scream out in pain. As this unfolded, Fang Ping's vitality score also began to rise, slowly. Jin Kaming anxiously held his breath with every beep of the vitality meter. Fang Ping had taken his goods. If he didn't meet the standard, he wasn't going to let him off the hook. But finally, the display jumped to the number 149. Fang Ping had reached the peak vitality score of a quasi-martial artist, just as Jin Kaming had hoped. In the conference room of the Physical Examination Center, a man stood on the podium reading a document from the Ministry of Education that had just announced this year's vitality standard. He pushed up his glasses and continued reading 115 calibers. The moment that number appeared, it sent all the students into a panic. So high are they trying to kill us? Are you kidding me? Last year, 1 in 12 cal got you into a martial arts university. I thought a 1 in 12 cal was the limit. I didn't expect 115 cal. I'm screwed. The man's voice droned on. It's the same old saying. All roads lead to Rome. So everyone don't worry too much. Stay calm. Next, we will announce the list of candidates who passed. Liu Ruoqi 115 cal. Ma Dongmei 112 cal. Jihao turned to ask, Hey Fang Ping, how are you not nervous at all? It's 115 cal this time. He frowned, puzzled. Is 115 cal really that high? His friend said, Are you joking? How many cal do you think you got? Fang Ping scratched his cheek and replied 149 cal. Hearing that, Jihao clapped his friend on the shoulder, laughing through tears as he replied, This isn't the time for jokes. Your self-pep talk game is admirable, though. He looked bewildered and said, I'm telling the truth. The man continued reading. Yang Jian 116 cal, Wujihao 120 cal. Yang Jian immediately cheered for himself, while Jihao gave a smug grin. He even glanced over at him as if it were a total victory. On the podium, when the man got to the name, Fang Ping, he froze. His whole body trembled, and his voice stuttered. Next, let's congratulate Fang Ping. He raised his voice. The highest score, 149 cal. First place in Ruiyang City. Everyone was stunned. All eyes turned in one direction. He smiled with satisfaction. The whole room buzzed with excitement. Countless whispers filled the air. Who's Fang Ping? I don't know. Is he a martial arts student at our school? I think he's in Wu Jihao's class, 149 cal. That's insane. Jihao startled grilled Fang Ping. You really got 149 cal. He replied helplessly, For real. I told you, but you didn't believe me. The man on the podium said, That's the list of those who passed the exam. For those of you who didn't pass, don't be discouraged. Below, countless students wore faces of disappointment. Many were even sobbing. He saw this and tried to console them. There's always next year, dismissed. A teardrop fell on a small hand. Zhang Nan sobbed. For this exam, my whole family had to scrimp and save. How am I supposed to face my parents now? Fang Ping felt sorry for her, thinking to himself, The martial arts track. is really not something an ordinary person can afford. He frowned, thinking back. Initially, I spent hundreds of thousands in wealth points to supplement my vitality. An ordinary family can't bear that burden. Fang Ping put a hand on her shoulder. Jiangnan, he tried to comfort her. You had to endure so much for this test. Couldn't eat this. Couldn't eat that. He smiled brightly and suggested, I remember you like French fries. I'll take you out. My treat, eat as much as you want. She trembled as she called his name Fang Ping. The other classmates gathered around to cheer her up. If someone's treating you should go Jiangnan. With your ability, you'll definitely pass next year. The more she heard, the more tears welled up. Everyone! Then she brushed away her sadness, jumped to her feet and shouted, let's go food raid! Seeing this, Fang Ping felt a great sense of relief. He and his group of friends were laughing and talking, each holding a bag of snacks, as they walked out of the convenience store. Suddenly, a strange man approached them. Hey, student, don't you think the martial arts exam is unfair? The man continued, if you don't pass, you're doomed to live a low-class life. Why? Why do we have to follow the rules they set? Fang Ping's group frowned, confused. The man had a shifty look on his face. He started spouting all sorts of nonsense. In 2012, the Martial Artists Association will bring the world to ruin the true God. Society will lead everyone to save the world. Join us. Eliminate the rules of authority and follow the Grandmaster's standard. Fang Ping frowned and thought, who is this guy? The man continued his persuasion, join us. He gave a sinister smile and said, resist the privileges of the ranks and revere the top Grandmasters. Fang Ping frowned, annoyed. He whispered to his friends, this guy seems off. Let's get out of here. They all agreed in unison. So the 5 or 6 of them ignored the strange man and made a quick getaway. Unexpectedly, the man grabbed Jiangnan's arm. He pulled her back and said urgently, student, don't leave yet. I'll take you somewhere. She was terrified and screamed, let me go. He paid her no mind and instead gave a creepy smile. Don't worry, I won't hurt you. The true God treats everyone kindly. Fang Ping couldn't stand it anymore and yelled. She said let her go. Just those words created an invisible pressure that made the man freeze. His eyes widened in fear. He emanated a terrifyingly threatening aura. At that moment, Jiangnan also struggled free from his grasp. She then darted back towards her friends. He thought to himself, is this some kind of cult? Recruiting people on the street so brazenly? Isn't anyone in charge? Jihao turned and said, Fang Ping, just ignore him. Let's go. He closed his eyes and sighed, deciding to drop it. Right now I don't need to, nor do I have the right to meddle in this stuff. Right now all I care about is the professional skills test. Challenge. Tomorrow. And so the group left. Little did they know that although the man was left behind, the corner of his mouth curled into a scheming smirk, foreboding trouble. The next morning, 2 security guards stood blocking the school gate. Parents had also come to wait for their children to finish the test. The outdoor challenges were taking place. The students were actively participating. Many sports were included to allow them to showcase their talents. Besides that, there were also specialized written tests. In the classroom, the atmosphere was tense and silent. Fang Ping was working on his test very seriously. After a long time, the students who had passed the test were cheering joyfully. The test is over. He was now squeezing through the crowd, as countless parents were standing outside. They happily shouted, they're out, they're out! My son did so well. On the side of the road, a white car was parked. A man's voice rang out, that's him! It turned out to be the man from yesterday. He said, that's him? The student with the really high vitality. Sitting next to him was a woman with a sour look on her face. Her tone was sharp. High vitality. A talented martial artist, a future privileged class. A man in the back seat chimed in. These privileged people all have to die. The corner of the woman's mouth curled up as she replied, that's right. Their sins are unforgivable. They are beyond redemption, she continued. It's up to us to cleanse their souls. Hearing that, the group of thugs in the back tightened their grip on their weapons. She smiled and said, the other students are for you, but he's mine. The group, weapons in hand, aggressively threw open the back car doors. They jumped out and charged down the main street. One of them swung a bat straight at a student's head, knocking him to the ground. As if that were the signal, the whole gang charged in, punching, kicking, and slaughtering many innocent students. Their parents had to grab their children and flee in all directions. Those heartless thugs even attacked defenseless women, showing no mercy, grabbing hair, punching indiscriminately, and even using iron rods to beat the male students. The scene descended into chaos. Fang Ping, who was leisurely leaving, wondered, what's going on? The woman's voice rang out again. Student, where do you think you're going? She appeared behind him in a flash, preparing to strike. Before you go, you must offer your soul to the true God. Startled, he whipped around. A powerful punch came flying at him. Luckily, with his quick reflexes, he managed to block it, but he was still shaken. He cried out inwardly, that hurts! A jolt went through him. His eyes widened in realization. A martial artist who has trained their limbs? She laughed maniacally. Fang Ping remembered the man from yesterday and understood the situation. The symbol on her face is the same as that cultist's from yesterday. He gathered his strength and leaped up, spinning around to deliver a forward kick. He thought, are these lunatics trying to get revenge on me? But she blocked it with ease. He grimaced in pain. Ouch! Right now, without any combat techniques, I have to rely entirely on my physical attributes to fight back. Seeing him distracted, she grabbed his collar. Then she slammed his whole body to the ground, making him cough up blood. She raised a fist about to bring it down. Fang Ping knew if he took that hit, not even God could save him. Decisively, he kicked her leg hard. She lost her balance and stumbled, causing her punch to go wide. It was so powerful it shattered the ground beneath. He glanced over in terror. This isn't just a simple disturbance. She's trying to kill me. A punch that goes through the ground. What rank martial artist is this? Before, when I dealt with the rank 2 Huang Bin, I was prepared. Just as he was lost in thought, she pulled her hand back. The corner of her mouth curled up as she prepared to punch again. The true God is merciful. He was instantly terrified. Dealing with a sober martial artist right now. The fist came at him like lightning. Fang Ping's eyes widened in terror. This is bad. Am I going to die here? In this life-or-death moment, another punch flew in, sending her flying and saving his life. Blood splattered onto his face. She slammed straight into the fence behind her. Old Zhang appeared like a saving grace. He flicked the blood off his hand and spoke up. I didn't expect them to cause trouble at the test site. Fang Ping was still staring blankly. The man coldly asked, Student, are you hurt? The woman was now lying dead in a pool of dark red blood. Fang Ping was utterly horrified by the sight. A wave of nausea washed over him. He clutched his stomach, his face pale. He thought, one punch turned a person into this, it's so disgusting. Old Zhang remained very calm and said, Are you all right? The first time you see something like this, you're bound to feel sick. He asked, feeling better. He tried to pull himself together and questioned, Who are you? Old Zhang replied, Investigation Bureau wanted fugitive division. Fang Ping asked, So where are they? He answered curtly, A bunch of crazies, that's all. This made him angry and he yelled, Don't mess with me. He raised his voice. This whole thing. You're telling me it's over just by calling them crazies causing trouble, Fang Ping shouted indignantly. That person just tried to kill me. That statement made even old Zhang frown awkwardly. He lowered his head, his eyes filled with resentment. Seeing this, the man could only try to console him with some positive news. Ruiyang has dispatched the Army and the Investigation Bureau to conduct a citywide sweep. This definitely won't happen again. Zhenping ran over from a distance asking urgently, Fang Ping, are you all right? Seeing his appearance, he panicked. Why so much blood? Are you hurt? Do you need to go to the hospital? Old Zhang behind him said, Old Tan, don't worry. He's fine. He asked, wondering, by the way, is this Fang Ping kid? The #1 vitality in our city. Seeing the man, he was a bit surprised. Old Zhang, Zhenping replied, I was just passing by, and I saw a lot of your people from the Bureau. Seems like this wasn't just a simple riot. The man lit a cigarette silently, acknowledging that's right. This is the first time their attack has included a martial artist. This statement stunned Fang Ping. Old Zhang explained that these people hate the world, hate martial artists to the bone. Over here, countless students were severely injured, lying on the ground receiving aid. He said aspiring martial artists, to them are a privileged class, who haven't experienced combat yet. In another corner, doctors were giving emergency treatment to the victims, amidst the worries of their parents. Old Zhang continued, they preach that destroying the world is the best target. He exhaled a thin stream of smoke and said quietly, however, I didn't expect them to cause a disturbance at the test site this time. And among them there was even a martial artist. Zhenping was shocked. There was a martial artist. The man pointed to the woman lying nearby. This is the one who attacked Fang Ping. Seeing her, he said, it's a good thing the deputy chief was here to step in. Otherwise, Ruiyang would have lost a prodigy. Fang Ping clenched his fists in anger. He gritted his teeth and thought, what? Just one martial artist and I happened to run into them. He frowned. This time it might have just been a coincidence. But what if I run into them again next time, damn it? It's already this dangerous before even entering the martial arts world. It's hard to keep my own neck safe. How am I supposed to become a grandmaster? At this moment, an investigator appeared to report the situation. Reporting Deputy Chief, the Genesis cult has been apprehended. 3 were shot and killed. 20 students are severely injured. Among them, 6 have broken bones. It was clear the person was hesitating. The man asked, what is it? The person said bluntly, they won't be able to attend a martial arts university. Hearing this, Old Zhang was stunned speechless. Zhenping then spoke up. Old Zhang, you go handle the cult matter. Leave the work here to the Education Bureau. He replied, then I'll have to trouble your Education Bureau. Zhenping replied, what's there to be troubled about at a time like this? He then turned to ask him once more, Student Fang Ping, Are you really not hurt? Take this tissue and wipe your face. If you were hurt, I don't know how I'd explain it to Wang Jinyang. He quietly took the tissue and said, Uncle Tan. Fang Ping said seriously. Can you tell me about the combat techniques from today? Zhenping asked in return what you want to learn combat techniques. He was very sure about his decision. He thought, I have to get stronger. Zhenping patted Fang Ping's shoulder and said, wait until you get into a martial arts university and become a martial artist. The school will teach you, but these days in this peaceful era, training in this isn't very useful. Hearing this, he thought to himself, why would he say that? Grandmaster Ma and that cultist from earlier, and the chief of the investigation bureau, do they all know combat techniques? The man continued calmly, you don't need to be too surprised. Actually, a lot of martial artists these days don't train in combat techniques. They just focus on tempering their bones and nurturing their vitality. Zhenping smiled and said, besides, even if you learned combat techniques before, you wouldn't need them now like this time. When disturbances happen, the investigation bureau handles it. It has nothing to do with us. Just being a paper pusher, a strong vitality person like me is good enough. Otherwise, if you're constantly fighting and killing like the investigation bureau, you never know which day will be your last. Fang Ping frowned, his expression downcast. The man turned to leave. Come with me, I'll take you to get cleaned up. I brought a new school uniform. I'll take you home later and visit your parents. He thought to himself, are most martial artists like this? Fang Ping was on the phone with someone, but he received a notification. The number you have dialed is currently out of the service area. He sighed dejectedly. Where did old Wang go? I can't reach him. I wanted to ask him about the martial arts stuff. Zhenping asked, what's wrong? No one's picking up. He replied, no. Suddenly he said, that's right. He had just received a text message. The screen read, Dear Customer Tan, Zhenping card number ending in 5918 has transferred 2,000 RMB to you on May 10, 2008. Fang Ping was a little surprised. I've been so busy these past few days, I almost forgot about this. I didn't expect Old Tan and Director Jin to actually send me the money. The man smiled and said, you did great on the vitality test. The city has sent the reward money to your account. Then he gently raised his hand to comfort him. Don't look so down. Keep up the good work, young man. Fang Ping frowned, confused. Zhenping smiled brightly and explained, touch hands, touch hands. I have high hopes for your future development. That statement surprised him greatly. Then he snapped out of it and gave the man a high five. Of course. Satisfied, he continued driving. Then he remarked, as expected of someone from Wang Jinyang's family, very high fighting spirit. The cult incident is over. I was lucky to survive. Dwelling on it won't change anything. Just like Old Tan said, I have to look forward now. The scene changes to Fang Ping's house. Suddenly a party popper goes off showering everything with colorful streamers. The whole family laughed happily. One holding a horn, one a gong, and one a popper. All three cheered in unison. Congratulations! Ping Ping brother #1 vitality in the city. But the one who got all the attention was Zhenping. Sorry for the intrusion. Then Fang Rong cautiously asked, and you are? Just then the boy peeked out from behind and said, Dad, Mom, Fang Yuan. They exclaimed joyfully, Ping Ping big brother. But his next words sent a chill down their spines, and they broke out in a cold sweat. This is the Deputy Director of the Bureau of Education, Mr. Tan. He was the one who brought me home. They thought to themselves, the Deputy Director of the Bureau of Education. Everyone moved into the living room. Yuan offered tea. Zhenping, the kid didn't even tell us you were coming. We didn't prepare anything. I'll go buy something right now. He politely replied, Sister-in-law, there's no need to go to any trouble. I just need a few words with your husband. On the side, Fang Yuan whispered, you're so slick. The Deputy Director of the Bureau of Education himself gave you a ride home. Fang Ping sighed and replied in a low voice, but I had no idea what his job was. Over here, Zhenping spoke up. My apologies for dropping in on you so suddenly, Brother Fang. It's really no trouble, Fang Rong replied. No worries, I should be the one calling you brother. The man said, actually, the Yangcheng Bureau of Education has looked into Fang Ping's situation a bit. You and your wife raising Fang Ping to adulthood? It couldn't have been easy. If you'd like, we'd like to offer you a security guard position at the Bureau of Education. The salary is 5,000 a month with benefits. He was shocked when he heard that. Really 5,000 a month. Fang Yuan excitedly rushed over. Dad, that's awesome. You won't have to work so hard anymore. Fang Ping agreed. Yeah, Dad, you should take Uncle Tan's offer. Fang Rong hesitated for a moment, rubbing his head, then agreed. Zhenping, after getting his answer, spoke up. All right, I still have matters to attend to. I'll be going now. Hearing this, the man was surprised and called out, Wait, stay for dinner. The man waved his hand. No need, you all should have a family reunion. The boy said, Uncle Tan, let me see you out. As the two of them went to the door, Fang Yuan was whispering inside. Director Tan is so nice he personally drove Big Brother home and even arranged a job for Dad. Yuan also said, Old Fang, we should arrange a dinner sometime to properly thank Director Tan. Fang Rong smiled and replied, that sounds like a good idea. Let's wait until Fang Ping's exam results are out, then we'll invite him. Suddenly the boy spoke up. Dad, Mom, are you free tomorrow? The man asked, puzzled, oh, why? The boy grinned and announced, the Bureau of Education is rewarding us with a house. We're going to see it tomorrow. The three of them froze solid after hearing that. Then they all shouted in unison, huh! The next day, Fang Ping's entire family went to visit the luxurious villa they were gifted. Fang Yun was ecstatic, shouting, it's huge! She excitedly dashed up the stairs. There's even a second floor. I have to go check it out. Yuan reminded her, be careful, sweetie, watch your step. Fang Rong looked around, then smiled and exclaimed, I've lived half my life, and this is the first time I've ever seen someone get a whole house as a reward. His wife agreed, that's right, even the furniture is included. How much must the Bureau of Education have spent on this? He turned to ask Ping Ping, is this house really a reward from the Bureau of Education? The boy seemed a bit surprised to hear that. Then he gave a forced smile, his voice hesitant. This house? He thought to himself, maybe I should just tell my parents the truth that I bought it. Who would believe the lie that I was just given a house? But before he could figure out what to do, the two of them had already forgotten about it. Fang Rong was also excited. Hey honey, look. This is a liquid crystal display TV. The kind that's super popular in the city. Yuan happily chimed in, a TV this big. Watching the invincible sheep girl on this is going to be epic. Fang Ping felt a bit helpless. They actually bought it. He sat down on the sofa and explained, Mom, Dad, this house was a special grant from the Bureau of Education, so don't go telling everyone. His dad replied, I get it, I get it. His mom said, if an aspiring martial artist gets benefits like this, I can't even imagine what it's like for a real one. Just then Fang Yuan's voice rang out. There's a garden upstairs. Fang Rong was curious. For real, Dad's got to see this. Yuan stood up slowly. I've got to see this too. On the TV, the news channel was announcing breaking news. We interrupt this program. Today at 2:28 p.m., a magnitude 8 earthquake occurred in the western region. The strong tremors caused severe damage to buildings. Fang Ping frowned, thinking, an earthquake. That's right. In my previous world, an earthquake also happened on this day. The man on the TV continued speaking. As of now, there are 3 fatalities, 73 injured, and 1 person missing. The boy was startled, thinking, I remember the number of dead and injured back then was much higher than this. Then he wondered, could it be due to the influence of martial artists' mental power? The news report continued. Thanks to a grandmaster's early warning, the public was able to evacuate in time, avoiding large-scale mass casualties. Rescue teams have quickly arrived at the disaster area and are actively carrying out rescue operations. Grandmasters are also on site actively assisting in the rescue. We urge our compatriots in the disaster area to cooperate fully and work together to rebuild our beautiful homes. Fang Ping pondered. Maybe they aren't as useless as old Tan said. Didn't they just save a lot of people? I've stepped into the world of martial arts, and there's no turning back now. A smile tugged at the corner of his mouth. As long as I keep getting stronger, I can't go wrong. Suddenly at that moment his phone rang. It was old Wang. Fang Ping answered the call with a cheerful greeting. Brother Wang, I've been trying to call you for days with no luck. Are you doing okay? Jin Yang replied from the other end. I've been on a mission out of town for the past few days. It wasn't convenient to bring my phone. He continued, I saw your message saying your vitality reached 149. You did great on the exam, huh? The boy felt a bit embarrassed and rubbed his nose. Yeah, but that's thanks to all your guidance, Brother Wang. Jin Yang didn't beat around the bush and got straight to the point. You're looking for me. And I bet it's not just to hear congratulations, right? Spit it out, what do you need? Fang Ping was puzzled. Brother Wang, what are you talking about? But then he got serious and explained, actually a few days ago, I completed the preliminary bone tempering. My vitality broke through 150. The other end of the line was silent for a long moment before he replied, so you want to break through to the martial artist realm? The boy replied, no, I'm not ready to break through to the martial artist realm yet. Right now, the growth rate of my vitality and the progress of nurturing my bones have both slowed down. So Fang Ping smiled sheepishly, rubbing his head, and said, I wanted to ask you about combat techniques. You said that real combat is the most important thing. I want to practice combat techniques, but I don't have anyone to teach me. Jin Yang spoke up. Combat techniques are very important, but now isn't the best time for you to practice them. He continued, 150 is the breakthrough limit for an ordinary person to become a martial artist, but that's not what we're aiming for. In the pre-martial artist stage, the higher you can nurture your vitality, the more beneficial it will be for you later on. I was able to quickly complete the bone tempering, Precisely because I had a high vitality foundation. Jin Young said, right now you've not only broken through 150, but you've also completed your first bone tempering. Practicing combat techniques right now won't be beneficial for you in the long run. He advised seriously for your long-term goals. You should go for a second bone tempering, Fang Ping. The boy was stunned and asked, a second bone tempering? Jin Young asked. Do you feel like your bone tempering speed is much slower now? Fang Ping frowned and replied yes. The man said if you can afford it, you can buy some body-strengthening elixir to soak in. It will help speed up the bone tempering process. The boy was confused and asked, body-strengthening elixir, I've never heard of it. So Jin Young explained it to him. It's normal that you haven't heard of it. Only people who have reached the limits of their vitality and physical strength use body-strengthening elixir. Since few people use it, it's usually hard to buy in Yangqing. The man said, how about this? I'll get some from the school and send it to you. Jin Young said concisely, 3 vials for 500,000. Transfer the money to me in a bit. I'm hanging up now. Fang Ping was stunned. 500,000. He hurriedly shouted, wait, Brother Wang. Then he stood there dazed, rubbing his head, thinking to himself, he's not giving it to me for free, man, that's steep. But in this world, isn't everything related to martial arts expensive? But in the end, he bit the bullet and decided to buy it. I have to seize the time to train now. I can't let this money go to waste. Fang Ping spent his time doing muscle training, then did written exercises, and after that went for a run to build his stamina. His feet pounded on the ground, a current of energy swirling around him in a circle. His bones and joints gradually improved, becoming stronger by the day. His heart beat faster and his deep red blood vessels bulged. A circle of magical energy enveloped Fang Ping's entire body, causing him to float in the air. His power erupted violently. Time flew by. A month later, he was soaking in the body-strengthening elixir. The system panel appeared, revealing his ever-increasing stats. A smile crept onto Fang Ping's face, showing his satisfaction. With the body-strengthening elixir provided by the system, my vitality limit has increased to 170 in just 1 month. 3 vials of body-strengthening elixir.